Welcome back to another episode of Built and Backed. Joining me today is Argentina Beltran, the founder of InclusifAI, a human-centered AI-powered platform designed to be inclusive and accessible for all founders, tackling the multi-billion-dollar gap in startup funding. She is also the author of What We Teach the Machines, the critical importance of emotional intelligence in the age of AI, where she explores why human qualities like empathy and curiosity must remain at the heart of innovation. With over 2 decades of experience as an innovation strategist, Argentina has worked across the startup and innovation ecosystem, helping founders and organizations design solutions that prioritize impact and inclusion. Argentina, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ashley. I'm so happy to be here.
I am happy to have you here. I am so impressed by who you are. Like when we first met, I was like, okay, you're coming on my podcast. This is going to be such a fun episode. And the work that you've done, as you mentioned, in over 20 years, I think is really admirable. And so that's where I'd love to start is by having you share more about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, well, thank you, first of all, for that amazing introduction. And it's very thorough and well researched. Appreciate it. So my name is Argentina Beltran, and no, I am not from Argentina. I know a lot of people might have that question in mind. So I'm originally from the Philippines, born and raised there, and then moved as an adult here in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I have been in the innovation space for over 2 decades, spanning in different industries, from fintech to nonprofit to startups. And my last opportunity and last role was helping life science startups and being part of the ecosystem, and just making sure that we connect them with the right resources in order to support them in their journey. So
Oh,
yeah, so
amazing.
my work has always involved community and empowerment and innovation.
So, from there, knowing that your previous career was in life sciences, what led you to getting the idea for Inclusify? And in that sense, what shaped your path in innovation?
That's such a great question. For me, I think coming from a family of entrepreneurs as well, and also being in the innovation space and um, building communities that involve startups, there's one particular pain point that I feel needs the resources in addressing and needs serious attention, and that is the funding gap, right? The data is very clear that when it comes to VC funding, for example, only about 2% goes to women founders and only about 1% for Black founders. And for other demographics, it's not even being tracked, right? So
Mhm.
how can we solve a problem that's not even um, being tracked or being followed? So we need to take a serious approach in terms of, providing the right innovators access to resources, because we want to make sure that the process is inclusive and it's accessible so we all have a chance to success, right?
Mhm. Yeah. And so, with that, what does Inclusify offer? Like, what, or I guess, like, kind of what was that moment? I know you mentioned the statistics and the unfortunate statistics for women and people of color, but what was your like aha moment that was like, I need to build this?
Yeah, so I think there were many, many aha moments for me, but one thing in particular that stood out for me, um, with the rise of AI, seeing the technology evolve so fast, and so furious, and also witnessing not only the innovation but also the harms attached to it, it led me into this deep rabbit hole of understanding, like, how can we solve this, right? So I actually attended a talk by Jeffrey Hinton, who's considered to be godfather of AI, where he talked about. So for people that may not be familiar with him, he used to be a professor at University of Toronto, and then Google hired him to work on their AI labs there for their developments. And then after a few years, he decided, you know what, I'm going to step away from it because he wanted to focus on warning people in terms of the risk and the threats, right? And one of the key things that he addressed was it's not enough in terms of just thinking about what these technology can do, but also questioning who is building these technologies, who are the people behind it, right? And it brought me back to my original frustration and question, and the pain point that I'm trying to address is the funding gap, right? If it's the same people that keeps getting supported and gets the funding over and over, then we're going to continue to have the same problems, right? So we really need to think about it from that perspective in terms of who is really building the future. And if it's only accessible to a few, then we're just really amplifying the harm and continuing like that destructive path. So I think that's really the aha for me, is that if I can create a path wherein there's a lot more diversity and opinions when it comes to how these technologies should be built and what does an innovative solution looks like, where it's not always just focused on profit, but
Mhm.
really putting people and the planet at the forefront of these innovation.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of reminds me of that quote, nothing changes if nothing changes. So it's like by you being able to provide this path for people who typically don't get the opportunity to create new solutions, like now we have the opportunity for change to happen.
Yeah. So I listen a lot to there's this lady named Sinead Bovell. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right. I hope I am. She is a futurist, and she said in one of her interviews actually, which was really, really good. I think she got asked like, um, what's the Black Mirror moment, because you see all these innovations and technologies happening, and she said that to me the real Black Mirror moment is that being aware that we already have the resources and the technology to be able to solve and address all the important problems in the world, but we're choosing not to, right? And
Mm.
I think that that speaks volumes in terms of the kind of culture technology has become, where it's like build things fast and break them, and not even considering about the harms. And it's just really profit driven, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And so with Clusify, it sounds like you're really providing a more accessible and equitable opportunity for founders. Would you say that's right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So we are doing the inclusive and the accessible aspect of the design at the forefront. They're not an afterthought, right?
Hmm.
So we really want to build this with and for the people that we're hoping to serve. So we're working with different members of the communities, doing a lot of interviews from different founders, from founders that has disabilities. What else could we do in order for this to really be truly accessible? And also, like for example, if you have vision impairment, what would that look like? If you're hard of hearing, if you're a new immigrant and English is not your first language, how can we make the language more accessible? So you understand when you're looking to apply for a grant, are there some languages there, are there some words there that you may not necessarily understand because they're not the ones that are being used from back home, right?
Yeah.
So really just thinking about those questions right off the bat instead of them being an afterthought. I think that's the direction that we're trying to take here, and doing it properly. Are we going to get it perfectly? I don't know. We're not. We know that there's going to be errors in between. But I think, we want to model what is a responsible and ethically built company looks like from the foundation.
Oh, yeah. So, say there's an underrepresented listener listening to this episode, and they're like, you know what? I'm sold. I need to know exactly what Inclusify offers and how it can help me. Could you talk more about what it is that you do and how you can support people?
Yeah, so currently we're launching our pilot. We're capping it to 100 founders. You can visit inclusify.com and apply to be part of our pilot. If you are a startup that is currently going through your own journey, whatever stage that may be, maybe you just have an idea and you're trying to explore what should that look like. So we are building those tools to help you in your journey, and we want this to be a one-stop shop, basically,
Hmm.
from the time that you have an idea, what would that look like? What kind of support do I need from the time that you're gonna raise some funds to ensure that you can get the financial access as well to build this, from what type of questions do you need to be asking so you can build this ethically, who are the right partners, those type of things. And also we're looking for partners from the investors side of as well, right? So we want to connect with investors that are really true to their word in terms of diversifying their portfolio and making sure that the right individuals get the access that they need in order for them to build their innovation.
Oh yeah. And so on that vein, basically, what makes InclusifAI different from other AI tools?
So a lot of the, and that's a really great question. There's a lot of tools currently that are funding platforms. There are some that are also AI powered and they do matching services. But for us, we are really keen on making this a truly inclusive and accessible platform, like what I mentioned. And our focus is really um, having more options in terms of diversity and what that looks like for people,
Mhm.
right? And also this will serve as a productivity tool as well, because a lot of times a lot of these platforms are just directories that you can find the resources, how to register your business or grants available and all that kind of stuff. But if you're not highly organized individual, which sometimes I am not. So it helps having a built-in tool like a CRM that's already in there in that platform. So you can track all your activities, all your communications, your contacts, all in one, right? Because, you know, if you have gone through the journey of trying to fundraise, well, first you're going to have to look at what are the available resources, who are the people that you need to speak to. And a lot of times you're probably like scouring LinkedIn, trying to build those connections or those conversations. Um, so we're building that into the platform, right? So it's baked in. So you're not jumping from like different platforms to different platforms. Because really the whole goal is we want startup founders or innovators to focus on building their business.
Mhm.
And when you're fundraising, it's a massive investment of your time just trying to put your fundraising plan together. And that's a lot of like on an average of about over 200 plus hours that people spend on just trying to figure out their fundraising or work on their fundraising, right?
Yeah,
Those are
absolutely.
hours that you can. And it's even worse for people that are not well connected. They don't have a lot of resources. So again, it keeps people from getting ahead of what they should be focusing on and what they should be working on.
Oh, absolutely. And I love the point that you mentioned about it really being that one source that founders can access and having everything streamlined into one place. Because to your point, I mean, if someone's juggling text messages and emails and phone calls and Zoom meetings and scraps of paper of notes and whatnot, it's so hard to keep track of everything. And so having one tool like Inclusify that can really put everything in one spot, I think is amazing.
100%. And I think it's also the other aspect that we're trying to build in into our platform as well as the community piece, right?
Mhm.
You know, it's very important being a startup founder or having your own business. And I'm sure you can attest to this as well, having being connected with many many founders. It's a lonely world,
Yeah.
everybody needs the support and the community. So, we're trying to bake that in that this is community built in a community platform. And we're trying to democratize the process because in the innovation space, in the fundraising space, um, there's a lot of gatekeeping,
Hmm.
and it should be, right? So we're really trying to break down those gates and open doors That's really
Oh,
what.
100%. Yeah, I personally feel like when one person wins, everyone wins. So it's like being able to, like you said, remove that barrier to entry, remove the gates that are holding people back. I mean, that will bring so much more goodness into the world and into the startup ecosystem.
Exactly, exactly. You got it.
Yeah. And so you mentioned a part about community, which I want to dive deeper into because I know you'll give a shout out to your LinkedIn at the end, but for anyone listening, I love seeing Argentina's LinkedIn posts because you're just so about community and people that you meet and who you recommend in your network. And so through all the work that you do with community building and just bringing people together, I'd love for you to talk about the importance of that for people who are in the startup world, whether they're a founder, VC, or even just a builder operator.
Yeah, and I actually mentioned this. I dedicated a chapter in my book just regarding community because I feel that's extremely important. We have loneliness epidemic, for
Yep.
example, right? And I talk about this a lot. And it feels that the more technology that's being built that's meant to connect us, the more that people are being isolated. Because what's happening is, and from my perspective and from my experience, you have all these tools. You have Chat GPT, you have Instagram, all of these things, right? And Facebook and Instagram were designed to connect people. Um, but what's ended up happening is that because the focus, again, because it's a profit driven business, and the algorithm prioritizes engagement. So it's rewarding the wrong behavior. It's no longer connection. It's curating your feed so you can be seen more, you can get more clout, you have the rage baiting happening, and it's the and because when you create conflict, it creates more engagement, right? And that's why you have all these content in that space that's not really designed to connect people.
Mhm.
Um, and then you have again in I'm Filipino. I was born and raised in the Philippines. We are very much a community driven society, meaning we have terms that we have this thing called bayanihan, right? We're literally back in the day, if you have to move your house, everyone in the community would show up and would literally lift the house where you want it to,
Oh, yeah.
right? And we have a concept of kapwa, meaning that whatever I do impacts you. So I always have to think about not just about me, but also you. So I think we really need to embed those type of systems in the innovation space. So we really understand that all the things that you're doing, all the things that you're building, will ultimately has an impact to the whole community. And what does that look like to build responsibly? So you're really trying to understand what harm could this potentially have, right? And I think that's a lot of the focus when it comes to my work, and in what I do, even the book that I write, and in the technology that I'm encouraging people to build. Because even when I connect one on one with other founders as well, these are the kind of questions that I bring to surface in terms of
Mhm.
asking the right questions.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I absolutely love the quote that you shared, which is the idea of the more that technology is being built to connect us, the more that people are isolated. And as you said that, I was like, whoa, how true is that? Because it's like all this technology gives us the opportunity to stay at home because we feel like we're connected rather than feeling like we need to get out and see people and meet people. And so I just want to thank you for putting that into perspective because I think it's easy to kind of forget about the importance of connecting with people one on one and being able to do so is huge for your whether startup journey, whether you are a founder or someone just in the space generally.
Yeah, I was having this conversation with my kids. We always talk about technology and mental health and all these things, right? So, for example, you have ChatGPT, and the whole intention of ChatGPT was supposed to help us, so they can work on the tasks that we don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And supposedly, those are the boring tasks, right? Like the repetitive, boring task that a machine can do. that we're supposed to outsource to them. So we'll have more time to be creative, to be human, like to actually do the things that humans are supposed to do. But the reverse is happening, right? So instead of people outsourcing tasks, they're outsourcing feelings, they're outsourcing thoughts, they're outsourcing those discomfort, the relationships. Um, and that's what creates a lot of those divide, right? So
Mhm.
you have news, for example, and again, um, not thinking about and not asking the right questions in terms of who does this serve and who does this harm. It's really disheartening for me to like read in the news, for example, like a teen committed suicide and chat gpt helped them plan it all.
Mhm.
um, uh, those type of things are really really hard to take, and because we know they're avoidable,
Yeah.
right? And that's why I think it's really really important for people to take this seriously. And a lot of times people may seem to think, and this is another message that I want people to really ponder upon, because whenever I'm having these conversations, people seem to think that, oh, it's chat gpt, it's tech. I'm not a techie, I don't understand technology. And that's by design. People are really being made to feel that you shouldn't be speaking about this because this is not your expertise, or you're not smart enough, or you're not knowledgeable enough. But that's not the right approach, because everybody should have a voice and everybody should have an opinion when it comes to these technologies that are being built, because ultimately we are all impacted by them. um, so that's the message that I really want people to really think about. um, these technologies are everywhere. They
Mhm.
impact us all, and I want people to feel empowered to ask the questions, um, and don't feel like it's a stupid question. It's not. Ask it. Speak
Yep.
up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because to your point, what you mentioned earlier, and I forget the phrase that you had shared for it, but what we do as an individual impacts someone else in our life. So technology has a huge role in that. How we use technology, therefore, impacts someone else, whether it's positive or negative. And so being mindful and intentional about this stuff, I think, is really important to ensure that it's used for good and not used for harm.
Exactly, exactly. And also understanding in terms of having that self-awareness, that how is this impacting me right now, right? So
Hmm.
when you're typing your questions on ChatGPT, understanding that these technologies are designed to keep you hooked,
Yep.
right? And if you don't have the awareness to pause and think, wait, why does it keep asking me this question? Why does it keep leading me this path? And also understanding that they're designed to not be factual all the time. They hallucinate, they make up things, because the way that they're designed, they're rewarded for coming up with confident assumptions.
Hmm.
So, understanding these things and having the self awareness when you're spending too much time on technology, and just pulling yourself out of that, and taking everything with a grain of salt, and not taking every single bit of advice that a chat GPT or a similar technology would give you and taking it as fact. Investigate, question, and really, don't be afraid to sit in the discomfort. And I think that's what a lot of people are doing, because they relationships are messy, people are
Yeah.
messy, life is messy, right? That's just the reality of life. And you know what? That's what makes it interesting. And people sometimes think that, you know what, if I just let technology take care of it, then everything will be fine. I'll be happy. But I think people are realizing it now that it isn't.
Yeah.
Because the beauty lies in the messiness. Once you've figure out, so what is it there, what's the lesson that you're trying to learn, and you sit in the discomfort and you manage to repair and connect with others, that's, to me, that's happiness.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you had also mentioned the importance of people not using the excuse of them not being technologically minded, to not care about what's happening here. And so that's what makes me wonder for any non-technical founder who does need to embrace technology and AI, what advice do you have for them for being able to adopt it within their startup?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, and that's a good question to ask. For me, um my motto in life is always about surrounding yourself with people smarter than you and
Hmm.
leading with curiosity, right? With my line of work, I'm always so fascinated by the people around me, and whenever they're speaking, like, do I understand half the things that they're saying? No. I'm just so fascinated that, and sometimes I would say that, you know what? Whatever you said was so beautiful. I wish I understand at least half of it. And they would just laugh, right? And I think if you just come from like a place of curiosity and honesty and vulnerability, um, people appreciate that and they're more inclined to help out, right? If
Hmm.
people are coming in pretending that they know it all and they think that they have to perfect everything when they show up, no, you don't need to do that actually. When you show up and you really understand in terms of who you are, what do you need? And be specific and be clear
Hmm.
with that ask. I reach out to a lot of my friends in the innovation space, and I would ask them a question that to them may just be silly because it's so normal and it's like common knowledge, but they understand that my background is not that, right?
Yep.
So when I do ask the question, they're like, you know what? Yeah, um, this is what it is, right?
Hmm.
And that's really it. Just lead with curiosity, ask the questions anyways. And I think with the amount of tools and resources that we have available to us now, there's no better time to learn, right? You have the Google, the Chat GPT. There's tons of courses available online as well, and there's free resources too. So yeah, so it requires time and effort.
Hmm.
That's for sure. And I think really just building those right connections with the right people. Um, and to me, I think that's like the best thing that anybody can do who may not be technology savvy or not knowledgeable when it comes to these things.
100%. Leading with curiosity. I love that. And what you shared there sounds like it can kind of cross over with advice for building a community in general. And so that's one thing I'd love to pick your brain on, especially for founders who are newer to just the startup world generally and are like, you know what? I have no community yet. Like, if someone's in that starting point zero, what advice do you have
Mhm.
for them for being able to find their community and build one?
Yeah, I think the person to that introduced us is Rebecca,
Hmm.
right? So I'll start off with that in terms of community building. So Rebecca and I met through LinkedIn. She talks a lot about technology for good, AI for good, and also that's not like that's a topic that I'm passionate about. So it was just really as simple as typing AI for good and who are the people in my network that are there, right? And I think, you know, and that's where my advice is look for your people. Look for the people that you share interests and values with and just reach out to them and go on an exploratory call. And
Hmm.
that's what I do, right? So when a profile or somebody interests me, I send them a message, hey, I looked at your profile and I feel like there's some sort of alignment. Would you be open for a 15-minute chat? Just so I can understand what you're working on and I can tell you about what I'm working on and see how we can support each other. Right.
Hmm.
So that's really my approach in terms of building the community. I don't go out there with the idea of who should I reach out to so I can get something from them, right?
Right.
Because that's the wrong approach. You should always have that mindset of who are the people that aligns with my values, who share the same interests, who may be interested in solving the same problem as I do. And let me find out how we can support each other, right? So when you come in with the mentality of creating win-win situations and solutions, people are very, very open to that.
Mhm.
So yeah, so that's really my advice in terms of the people that are just new to building their network, building their community, and finding out their people.
And I love that what you shared is it's so simple, right? Like you said, just being able to use a tool like LinkedIn to search for something that is important to you and see who comes across who has similar interests and passions. And as you shared, find a way to mutually benefit one another and support one another. And then as you've found, I'm sure, like just meeting a few people will then naturally expand you into their network and more networks. And it just is like a natural growth from there. And so I love that you shared just such an easy and small tip for getting started building a community, but it's something that has a huge impact.
And it multiplies, right? And it
Yes.
multiplies. So like the impact that one single hi, hello makes it's so fascinating and wonderful because I met Rebecca and then she introduced me to you and then she introduced me to Megan, who also has her own community of innovators. And now I'm meeting Megan tomorrow. She invited me to speak at a university here in Canada. And then now,
Amazing.
you know what I mean? So I'm getting connected in that ecosystem, and meeting different founders from that ecosystem as well. And that's the thing, that's the magic of community, right? So when you come across as someone that's authentic, that's really not just out there trying to extract something from people, when they see you as this person is a valuable member of the community because they also aim to serve, and they want to do good, and really connect with people on a human level, that resonates so much more. So again, it multiplies, and you may not see the value right away, but it will happen. It will
Mhm.
happen, and the impact will be there.
Absolutely. And on the topic of impact, you are a newly published author, and I am so excited for you on that. And so I would love to give you the space and opportunity to share more about what your book is and also what inspired you to write it.
So I'm laughing because my when I told my kids that I wrote a book, they both like, what? 'Cause I'm just that person that like I've been thinking about writing a book for a long, long time, and if you the thing with me is I have so many interests, but the interest that's always consistent with me is about community, mental health, and because of my work in the technology space, I was thinking about how do I talk about all these things and my upbringing and my coding and understanding about people's emotions and what shapes you. How did
Mhm.
you become you? That's always my curiosity with people. When I meet somebody and I'm talking to them, I really want to get to know them. I want to understand their story, right? Like what led you to this moment? How did you become the amazing person that you are now? Right?
Yes.
And I think everybody has that story. And also, it was a way as well for me to share my story, for people to also understand who am I? What motivated me to do the work that I'm doing now? And also, it's like it was also therapeutical for me. It was my sort of therapy that I'm like, there's a magic in terms of putting your thought on paper
Mhm.
and reading them back to you, and you're just like, oh my god, wow, I've experienced this, I've gone through this.
Yep.
So I think really that's what it was. So for me, um, my book is called What We Teach the Machines: The Critical Importance of Emotional Intelligence in the Age of AI, because it's just this recurring situation and headlines, and also being a mom, trying to understand the connection of it from like a parenting side, from the relationship side, from the business side, from a culture side, from a community side. I think I finally figured out in terms of what is that topic that I really wanted to talk about, and this was it. So yeah, so I'm very excited to share it to the world because I talk about it from my own lens, and also some case studies that I'm seeing in the industry being a part of it. And it's not meant to be. I wrote it in my book that um, I hope they don't take it as this is a self-help book, and that I'm this guru that teaches you how to live your life. It really isn't that. It's a completely imperfect book. It's a very human book, and it's more of like it invites you to reflect because I want people to not lose that self-awareness,
Mhm.
because there's just way too many distractions for us. So I really want people to connect with their humanity, um, with their self, and how that relates to everything else around them.
Yeah. And I know that from just diving more into the work that you're doing, that something that's really important to you is keeping humanity intact in the age of AI. And so that sounds like it so closely correlates with what you've centered this book around.
Exactly, exactly. And
Yeah.
I think, I just wanted to drive the point as well that, it is possible for us to create that world. It is possible that even though in this day and age of technology, that we feel like, oh my God, it feels like it's hopeless and it's this and it
Hmm.
feels like there's no way out of it. I think if we really try to connect, and band together as humans, there is a way out of it. And I want people to continue to be hopeful and to really understand in terms of what is a true connection.
Yep.
What does that look like for you? What does that feel like?
Totally. You've already shared such good advice, but if there was like one piece of advice you'd give to anyone who's building in the startup world, whether they're a founder, ecosystem builder, VC, whoever it might be, like what's your one I will die on this hill piece of advice to give?
Oh, I would die in this hell. There's so many things that I think really just I'm gonna go back to like leading with curiosity. I think people need to constantly have that mindset, because I feel that once we've taken on this approach wherein we feel like we know it all, we've seen it all, we've heard it all, um, then we stop growing and we stop being open to other people's perspectives.
Mhm.
Um, and I think for anybody, whether you're a funder, founder, um, or you're just starting in your career, it's always a good reminder to really just be curious. Just ask those questions. And, it's okay if you don't have all the answers. And at the same time, it's also celebrate your wins, you
Yeah.
know? And especially for founders, there's always a milestone to achieve, right? And sometimes we forget to look back to see how far we've come, right? Because you're always looking ahead. Like, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to achieve this. And you're so hard on yourself, and you feel like you're not doing enough, and you feel like there's still a lot that needs to happen, and you don't enjoy the process, right? And I
Hmm.
think that's also an advice for myself. Like I have to remind myself that's like, it's okay, you know what? Just slow down. It's fine. It doesn't need to happen today. Then we'll
Hmm.
try again tomorrow.
Oh, absolutely. I love it. And one of my favorite questions to ask our built and backed guests is to have them give a shout out to someone who's doing something cool in tech right now. So I feel like it might be hard for you to just narrow down your
It,
options, but
there's so many people for sure. And then, these are people that I consider good friends of mine, and that I also go for advice. But there's this one specific founder that really left an impression in me. I just met him recently. His name is Amandeep Singh, from Enabled Talent. So he built this platform called Enabled Talent, and what it is he's designing what the future of work should look like, and it should be built for everyone. So it is a AI powered platform that's reshaping how people with disabilities connect to meaningful employment. And I think this is why, this resonates deeply with me, because that's similar thing that we're trying to build with Inclusify, except our target market are startup founders, right?
Yep.
Um, so it was so funny actually. Amandeep, the CEO and founder of it, reached out to me, and it's same thing. Like these are the things that I'm talking about in terms of community building. He reached out to me and say, "Hey, can we schedule a chat?" I looked at his bio and on LinkedIn. I'm like, "Oh wow, impressive," and definitely something resonated. And when we connected, it was so funny because he actually said that his plan was, when he was building Enabled, he was also planning to build something similar to Inclusify, which what I was building,
No
and
way.
yeah, and he was planning to um, call it, something inclusive as well. And we just like started laughing, right? And he said that, I'm so happy that you're actually already building it. So, and these are the kind of people that you want to build community with, because they're not threatened by something, but they also see it as, oh my God, you're also trying to solve the same problem that I'm trying to solve, and you see it from my perspective and you understand, right? And he's achieving so many milestones, receiving so many awards, and remaining humble, and also spreading the word out there and helping other founders, and saying to me that whatever resources I have access to, let me know. I'll share them with you. So those are the kind of people and attitude that we need to have in the innovation space, because we know that they're doing something good and something right.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a good shout out. And how funny that he was like, wait a second. I was thinking of doing that too.
You
But
know
to your
that meme with
point,
Spider-Man and they're pointing at each
yes,
other? Like, felt like that was us. Yeah.
it's so funny. But to your point, I mean, it validates what you're building with Inclusify to know that someone else is out there seeing the problem that is occurring.
Yes, absolutely. And
Yeah.
he went through it, right? As someone that's like a founder building something, someone, because he's visually impaired. So, and he created the solution for job seekers, and also like having go through that whole process of fundraising for your own venture. As someone that has disability, he understood like that layer of challenge as well.
Yep.
So yeah, so it was such a great connection. We still regularly stay in touch to make sure that we update each other in whatever milestones, challenges. Again, being a founder is a lonely world. You need to have your support system and connect with people that gets it. Um, so yeah, so I'm very happy that we've crossed paths, and I'm so excited witnessing his success.
Yeah, I love it. Argentina, this has been such a fun episode, and I've so enjoyed having you on the show to share everything that you've been working on with Inclusify. And I'd love to have you share with our listeners where they can find you online in case they'd like to connect.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thanks, Ashley, first and foremost. This was such an amazing chat. I didn't even recognize the time because I was just
Time
so
flies when
much
you're having
fun.
fun.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, again, connecting with people that understands the journey is really, really helpful. This feels like I just had a very therapeutical moment as well.
Oh, I love
It's
it.
it's an amazing feeling, right? So yeah, so for people that want to connect with me, if you want to find out more about Inclusify, just visit our website, inclusify.com. That's inclusifai.com. And connect with me on LinkedIn, Argentina Beltran. So yeah, so would love to hear from people.
Amazing. And I will include those links in the show notes that our listeners can easily find you from there. Thank you so much again for coming on this week's episode.